Hey y'all, hi. Okay, I had this idea for a video a couple of weeks ago. Here's what I did. I took this black box and I put it on a little shelf, a little picture rail that is against the wall right above my vanity mirror. So it was within reach of me when I was sitting and doing my makeup, but the contents of the box were out of my line of sight. And then for the past 3 weeks, every time I've used a piece of makeup from my drawer, I have, after using it, put it in the box. And that has done two things. One, it's taken each item one by one, taken it out of commission. So the next time I was sitting down to do my makeup, whatever I had already used was no longer an option. And the other thing that it did was it collected every piece of makeup that I used in this box. And today I took the box down and I'm going to go through it and tell you what all of the makeup is, tell you what I ended up using for real over the past 3 weeks, and give you kind of like really quick reviews of how it went. So there's a mix of products in here. Some of it's new, like stuff that I've been, got in PR and I just tried it out, and I'm going to be giving you quick reviews of that. Some of it's makeup I've had for a really long time. So you're going to see which makeup that I currently own is the makeup that I tend to reach for, and it'll just give me a chance to reflect on my habits. If this is your first time to my channel, then welcome. I'm glad you clicked on this one. I'm Hannah. I love makeup. I like having a sense of comfortable abundance around my makeup, but I know that loving beauty can quickly turn into spending way too much on beauty and buying a bunch of stuff that I don't actually love and use. So I like to do little projects like this, take time to reflect on my habits. And if that kind of thing sounds good to you, I hope you will subscribe to my channel. Now let's go ahead and get into the meat of the video. There are a couple of exceptions. There are some things that I've used over the past several weeks that I didn't put into the box. One is this main base product, my favorite concealer, the Rose Inc Concealer. I use this almost every day and it didn't make sense to put it in the box. I didn't put things in the box that are things that I know that I use every single day. So this, my Refi Brow Gel, even like the e.l.f. mascara that I've fallen in love with that I've been using every single day. And that reminds me, I've also been using a lot of things from e.l.f. because I did a sponsored video for them. So I've been using like the Camo CC cream a lot. I didn't put that in the box. The box is just things that were like my one-offs, things that I was like, oh, what should I put on my lips today? What blush should I use for this brunch? What lip gloss should I use to film this video? And then I just like, out of everything that was there, picked one, put it on, and then put it in the box. There are also probably things that I forgot to put in the box, so I'm sure that this is not comprehensive, but there's definitely enough here for me to talk about. In fact, I'm kind of worried that the video is going to get really long, so let's get the show on the road. Also, clearly in no particular order, because things have gotten mixed around as I've put them in the box. So one of the things in here is my Salt New York Cream Palette. For some reason, I was thinking about this recently. I was doing a review or something and I compared a formula to this. I think that I might have compared a color to the rose color in here. I can't remember what it was, but it got me thinking about this. It got me thinking about how interesting the highlighter formula is, how it's got this kind of like melty, super balmy, slick quality, but then it's very shiny once it shears out. So one day, this was an early one, like I used this quite a while back. It's been a couple of weeks now. I don't exactly remember what it was, but one day I grabbed this and I used a mix of the two blushes and the highlighter all over my cheeks for like a really blushy, glowy look. And it was wonderful. The next thing in the box is something that I'm excited that this is coming out of the box because this came in PR. This is like something that the brand sent me for review. It's the brand Kjaer Weis, and it's a cream blush, but it's in their new packaging. They have this heavy metal packaging with the replaceable pans that I really like. And I like the metal packaging, but it's expensive. It's like when you buy the blush with the metal packaging, when you buy it new, it's like $50. And then to buy the replacement, it's like less than $30. The packaging itself that you can buy and then replace the pan over and over again. The packaging itself, you're paying like $25 when you acquire it the first time. This cardboard packaging is much lighter weight. I mean, it's much lighter weight. It has a lot going for it. It is much less expensive. I think it's like $4 or $5 or something. And then when you buy it, what you're paying for is the blush inside, right? I think that it's just like the price of the blush with maybe like a couple of dollars added on for this cardboard thing. It is, I think, more sustainable like to have a cardboard packaging. It's probably more easily recyclable even than the metal one. It's also replaceable. You can also pop the pan out from the bottom and put another pan in this when you're done. So even though the metal one is so luxurious, I think that I might actually like this option better. I think that the blush that they sent me is in the shade Blissful. And I have to say, the formula feels unbelievable. So creamy, so fabulous. It feels so, so, so good. And the two Kjaer Weis cheek products that I have right now, they don't feel as good as this. Like, this is how I remember it feeling, like the most beautiful, creamiest cream blush ever. And it blended out like a dream. Even though I bought it brand new, the cream cheek in the shade Joyful that I have, it's always just been a little stickier and a little bit more difficult to blend out than this. And I think maybe it had aged a couple of years before I even bought it. I think I bought it from a brick and mortar store, and I think maybe they had just had like the refill of that cream blush in their drawer, like their stock drawer, for a couple of years. And so it probably was already kind of past its prime when I got it. I think that based on how, if they sent me a fresh one, and it's just so palpably different. And so that is the explanation for why even though I really like the ones that I have, I feel like they aren't as perfectly wonderful as I remember. And I was wondering if the formula had changed or something. But I think that maybe this is one where the formula is just much better when it's fresh. It's kind of an argument for purchasing directly from the Kjaer Weis site if you're going to buy these products instead of getting them through Credo Beauty or something. This looks pretty pink on my hand, but I really liked the effect on my cheek. I wore this when I went to dinner with my friend Becca, who is a content creator on YouTube and Instagram, Becca Sun. I'll link her down below. She's so wonderful. We had the best time, and I had no issue with this. It just went on seamlessly, was wonderful to wear. I'm glad that it's coming out of the box and I can use it again. Speaking of Becca, when we had dinner, she gave me this blush, which is the MAC Go Play blush in So Natural. Glow Play, not Go Play. The MAC Glow Play blush in So Natural. I was so excited to get the chance to try this because some of you have recommended this to me aggressively. Like, I've had so many people being like, Hannah, you've got to try it because it's very pale and relatively neutral, and it's a putty blush, and it has this kind of like slightly shiny finish. I don't know if the glow is showing up there, but maybe you can see in the pan that it has a little sheen, and you can see why I like the color, right? It's perfect for me. I actually wore this to an outdoor brunch with my friend Douglas, and I just wore it one time, right? This just happened like last weekend. It went on fine. I liked the color. I liked the sheen that it gave. And I don't love putty products. Like, the jury is a little bit still out. I'll take it back out. I'll go back to testing it more regularly. The thing about this project was that every time I wore something, I put it in the box. And so some things that I was testing like just got worn the one time. And so I don't have like a final thought on it yet. I'll come back and give it to you at some point. But I find I like a cream because I like being able to pick up like palpably an amount of it on my finger or on my brush and then spread it out. I feel like a putty, it's hard to do that with. It's not as satisfying for me. So even though the finish is really beautiful, my heart doesn't like leap at the thought of getting to try it again. I'm kind of curious about how it will go between this blush and me as the weeks progress. It's probably really good for someone who prefers a blush look to be subtle and is worried about going overboard, because the pigment's there and the color's there, but it's definitely something you have to build if you want it to be strong. Here's another thing that Becca gave me that, oh, actually, you know what I did? I played around with this as soon as I got home because I was really excited about it. So I have worn it a little in makeup playtime. It's the Rodial liquid blush drops in the shade Frosted Pink. And you wouldn't think that Frosted Pink would be my color, but you know, it turns out on me that this kind of pink can often end up looking quite natural on me because it looks a little bit like a sunburn or like a sun flush. So I played around with it. I loved the way it looked. And then the next morning when I was going to brunch with Douglas, I put this on and it looked nice, but it wasn't quite enough. I wanted a more blushy look. So I ended up going in with this on top of it. So that was the time that I actually wore it as opposed to just messing around with it. And it doesn't dry down. So I'm not sure it's going to be a keeper for me. I'll continue to try it because the look is very, very beautiful. It surprised me because it's so thick. I mean, it's got this thick, like dropper, and so much product goes into the dropper and then so much product drops out, and it just looks like it's going to be incredibly gooey and all over the place. But then it's pretty sheer. I'll show you on the back of my hand. It's so beautiful. The pigment's pretty soft and it ends up looking incredibly glossy and feeling kind of balmy. Even though I love the look of a cheek product that doesn't dry down like that, what I find is that over time, I eschew it in favor of products that do dry down. And that's why I've learned that it's not usually the best idea for me to hang on to a thing like this, because I won't end up using it as much as I want to, and I won't make my way through it. But again, I'm going to have to try this out more than just the one time. That's just my experience that I had with it the one time. There are a lot of blushes in here. I mean, I guess blush is something that I almost never skip, so it makes sense that they would have accumulated. So of course I continued to wear the Westman Atelier Blush Stick and Chouchette. I gave sort of a review of this. It was the first impressions. And then I also used this in my video, How Much Blush is Too Much, when I was just like building and building and building blush. So I reviewed this, and then I kept it out of the box for a while because I wanted to continue to get a sense of it. And then eventually I just went ahead and put it in the box so that I could move on to other blushes. So I wore this more than just the one time. The jury's a little bit still out on it. So far what has happened is that I have found myself defaulting to it pretty easily. Like if it's there on my vanity, it's what I'll grab because it always looks great. It is impossible to go overboard with it. Applying it is the work of a moment. It's just absolutely lovely, elegant in every single way. But this isn't my official final word. It's just to say that it's been steady as she goes with this, as far as what I expected it to be based on that review. And I'll try to remember to link below the 2 videos in which I demonstrated the use of this product. That's what it looks like up close. I don't feel like I have to give you a swatch right now because again, there's a very recent video in which I put it all over my cheeks. Let's do something that's not blush. Yeah, let's do some things that are not blush. Let's do the one I'm wearing today. This is just a gloss. I was wearing a different lip product for the video I filmed before this, and they're both in here. I put them in the box after I applied them literally today. So this is from the Kaleidos Apple collection. It's the Cloud Lab Lip Clay in the shade Dune. And will it have already gone up? Probably. The Glossier Monochromes review. This is what I had on my lips in that video. And I'll have linked it below that video. But I also wore it before I started this project, after they had just sent me this collection, maybe like three plus weeks ago. And I got a lot of questions on that video, the initial video in which I wore this, about what color it was. People really liked the way it looked, including me. I really like the way that this color looks on me. As nudes go, it's not a very deep one, but on me it is. On me, it's quite vampy, but it still has this kind of ruddiness, this kind of neutral ruddiness that makes it feel very wearable. It's not like super stark contrast. And the balance of all those qualities is quite nice. I also like how you can blur out the edges of this. I'm probably gonna end up keeping this. It's still technically kind of in purgatory, but I bet I'll end up keeping it because I've enjoyed wearing it the times that I've reached for it. And then I took it off for this video. It was kind of too much once I put my hair up and everything it was kind of too much. I wanted something sheer that would make my lips look a little bit more pale. So I pulled out this Milk Tea Gloss from Kaja, which I love. I love the way that it looks. I really like these Kaja glosses. This comes in a set with another one that is a little bit more brown, and both of them are awesome. While we're at it, I'll tell you about the other 2 things that are in this box that I have on my face. So both of these are also in here because I applied them today, and then I went ahead and put them in the box. The Persona Bronze Multi-Stick, the Dream Stick, in the shade Dune, and Glossier Puff. I really like the combination of these 2 cream products for the cheeks. I put the bronzer all over first, and then I put Puff on top of it, layered it on top of it, and you know, it's a pretty cheek. It's a pretty kind of like healthy, but still pale enough for it to be somewhat subtle on me cheek. I feel like that was the top layer. Like those are the things that I've worn the most recently. And now we're getting into the really exciting stuff because it's like stuff from a week or 2 ago. These 2 products. So this is what I was wearing on my face in the Gucci eyeshadow review before I put the eyeshadow on. And that is one of my favorite looks that I've had on in a really long time. I mean, before the eyeshadow was great as well, but I was really feeling myself when I was preparing for that video. and I had put this product on my cheeks. And I haven't actually talked about this on my channel yet. My friend Lauren sent this to me, Lauren of Lauren May Beauty, for no other reason than that she saw it and thought of me. Isn't that not the sweetest and nicest? It was just awesome. It just showed up in the mail one day with like a really nice note from her. And you guys know I had been really wanting to try this out. And so it was exciting for a lot of reasons. It's the Armani Neo Nude Melting Color Balm. It's in the shade 20. I love the shades that this comes in. Oh my gosh, is that a tiny bit of pan? It's a tiny bit of pan. I've probably had it for over a month and I've used it a lot. I have really used it a lot. So I'm kind of not surprised. It's also the formula. It's soft and I really like to go hard. So it makes sense that some of the product would have kind of been pushed aside as well as some of the product having been used up. Yeah, look at that pan. Oh, look at the color. Can you even live your life? This is like my dream product. I actually considered making a whole video called Lauren May Beauty Sent Me My Dream Product. Maybe I should still make it, like a video all about this. But I'm giving you all the tea right now, so I probably won't ever do that. It's my perfect milk chocolate cheek. It's so good. It also looks really good on the lips. And the last thing I'll say about this is that it's different to me from the MAC, even though it's sort of a putty. It's different from the MAC Glow Play because it's softer and it does kind of melt. It feels like a putty to touch, but it really does melt. It's like a powder, it's like a putty to cream for real. So it has that satisfying like creamy texture that you can dig into, but it also has sort of a putty surface, right? You can do that thing where you make a dent in it. I basically treat it like a cream blush though. I think of it as a cream blush and it applies beautifully. It's just an absolute dream. I do like to wear this on my lips and I have been doing some monochromatic looks, especially on days when I'm not on camera where I just put on a little bit of base and then I put it all over my cheeks and lips. It doesn't work on my eyes though. The Melting Color Balm, it just creases. It doesn't really stick. It's hard to blend it out on the eyes, but as the cheeks and lips look, it's amazing. But on that day when I was doing the Gucci review, I put Glossier Leo on my lips and it's pretty much the same color. It's just that Leo has this kind of grip to it that is distinctly a quality of a lip product. So it was like I was wearing the lip product version of this cheek product on my lips rather than just wearing the color melting balm thing on my lips. That's probably my favorite makeup look out of this entire box. Like my favorite makeup look of the last 3 weeks, basically. Just these two guys together. All right, I'm seeing a couple of more pieces that have been sent to me in PR and that I used once over the last week or two as like my first step in testing them out. Don't have a final verdict, but I do have like an initial impressions to give you. One of them is this trio from Kaja. This is the second one of these bento boxes that Kaja has sent to me. And the first one really disappointed me. If you saw that video, you may remember it was like the pink one called Azalea or something. It had 2 mattes and a shimmer, and the shimmer was pretty lackluster. I was disappointed because I had swatched some Kaja shimmers in store and I knew that Kaja was capable of making like an incredibly shiny, glossy, wet look sheer shade. And I was hoping that's what would be in the Azalea trio, and it wasn't. But in this one, which is called Smolder Season, I didn't know that until just now. It has it. There's 2 of them actually. Really, there's just the one. There are 2 beautiful metallic shades, but only one has that like wet look. It's that one. This is a very pretty shimmer, but it's a little more pigmented. And then it has this matte. Those aren't the best swatches, but hopefully you can see the reflect on that sheer shiny shade. This is what my dreams are made of. I mean, this is an amazing little trio for me, especially that wet look shade. Like I'll reach for it a lot by itself. It's going to join the ranks of like the Topper and the Tom Ford duo, Natasha Denona Cava and Sparks. It's another one of those. And really a good option if you want a shade like that, because I think that these are like $21, $22 and you get 3 shades. And if one of them is that, and that's something that you want to depend on the way that I depend on, that kind of thing, could do worse. And then these other 2 are just really useful colors for me and they perform really well. So I'm definitely going to hang on to this. I really like it. And I wore this, I used this when I was going out to dinner with Becca. But it was like mostly just sheer shiny all over the lid and just like a teeny bit of these 2 darker shades in my outer corner. This is something that came in PR recently, and I actually wore it a couple of times before putting it in the box because I just wanted to kind of get myself together because I knew I was going to be talking about it. It's from a brand called Minori that I hadn't heard of actually before they reached out and offered to send me some products. And actually their lip gloss isn't even in here because I really like it. I've used the lip gloss a lot and I've been carrying it around with me when I've gone places. I think it's actually in my purse right now. So the lip gloss gets a big thumbs up from me. This, however, is weird to me for one main reason. This is their cream cheek. It's called Cream Blush. It's in the shade Scarlet. The shade is really pretty. I mean, it's really pretty. It's like a soft red. But look how little of the container is filled up. I don't know if the weirdness of this will read on camera. I don't know if you'll be able to tell from there how it feels to be holding this in your hand. But look how high the side of that glass jar is compared to the level of the product. And again, this is brand new. Like I swatched it once or twice. I used it a little bit during makeup playtime and then I wore it actively one time. It just looks like they took this jar and they put like just a tiny layer of product right in the bottom of it. Like you were pouring muffin batter in the muffin tins and you ran out. And this is like the very last one that's going to get burned because there's not enough muffin batter in the tin. They have a highlighter that's in the same packaging and it's the same. It's not a fluke. It's like what they're doing. They have chosen a jar that's much larger than the amount of product that they decided to put in each package. It's unfortunate because actually the product, it's nice. Again, like the texture's good. Nothing about it was like, whoa, I'm the greatest thing you've ever seen. It's revolutionary. It's kind of balmy, semi-sheer. It's nice. It's just, honestly, it's hard to like get my finger in the way that it would be if I had used it and I had used most of it up and I'm like, oh, it's getting down to the bottom. That's how it feels, even though it's brand new. So it's awkward in a lot of ways. I hope that they make a change. I definitely think the brand has potential. I mean, especially based on the lip gloss. I have found myself reaching for it over and over again instead of other things that I really like. I can just imagine that if I purchased this and it arrived looking like that, looking like they had only filled up like a fifth or like a tenth of the jar, I would be like, what happened here? Let's talk about some things that I've owned for a really long time that I found myself thinking of and reaching for over the past couple of weeks. So this is one, the YSL Slim Glow Matte Lipstick in the shade 214. I love this color. You know, I'm ready to say that this is one of my favorite lipsticks. I think about this all the time. Whenever I look at my rich reds, I'm like, I want to wear that YSL lipstick. Oh, come on, just come on. It's the color and it's also the quality of the formula. It has this sort of almost balmy, like very easy to wear. The pigment is clearly there, but it doesn't punch you in the face. It doesn't get out of control. It always looks like a very strong statement lip on me, especially because I'm so pale, but I never feel like it's wearing me. You know what I mean? And I never feel worried about it. It's pretty easy to apply and pretty easy to get a nice, soft, diffused edge. I just really love it. And that's why I wore it. It's like when I first started collecting products in this box, this was one of the first things to go in because I wear it a lot. I just do. The same is true of the Rose Inc lip product, which I haven't owned for a long time. I've only owned it since I reviewed Rose Inc, which was like within a month or last month or something. But when I started this project and I started collecting things in the box, it was one of the first things in the box because I'd been wearing it almost every day since that review. I really like how incredibly pigmented it is and how much it sticks to the lips and doesn't wear away. And I really like the color. It's just another great product. And again, I reviewed this recently, so I'll link that review below. The Rose Inc blush as well. I continued to wear these products for days after I filmed that review, and I didn't stop wearing them until I started this project. And as soon as I started this project, they both went in the box. And that's when I started wearing other things. Funnily enough, one of the other things that's in here, which is the Honest Beauty Cream Cheek in Rose Pink, I pulled it out. I think I was kind of planning to give this away. I don't think I was going to keep this, but I was thinking about it because I started wondering how similar it is to the one from Rose Inc because it's highly pigmented. It's a really good drugstore blush. It's highly pigmented. And this Rose Inc blush is like incredibly pigmented. So I'll show you right now. Heliotrope is the color I have of the Rose Inc blush. The Rose ink is on my forefinger, and the Honest Beauty blush is on my middle finger. They're really similar. Heliotrope is right here. That's the Rose ink. And then right there is the Honest Beauty. I would go so far as to say that this is like a drugstore dupe. And so I started messing around with it, and then I ended up using it for that how much blush is too much video. And then it went in the box. I wore the Glossier Ultra Lip in Lucite one day just around the house. This is something also that I've had for a really long time, and I've used up a lot of it, used it down kind of to a nubbin. I like it because it has a similar effect to the one that's on my lips right now. It makes my lips look a little bit lighter and kind of milkier, but without looking weird, and it's very comfortable and easy to wear. The same is true of the Aaron's Faces tinted lip balms. This is in the shade Flushed. I also have the shade Blushed, and these I kept putting in the box, and then I kept going into the box to get them out. Like both of them. Blushed is also in a purse right now, or in a pocket or something. But both of them, I can tell you, I kept like wearing them and putting them in the box, and the next day I would be like, I want to wear it again, and I would go into the box and get them out. So these were probably the ones that I ended up noticing that I used the most because of this project. And I gave close-up swatches of those in my recent video about affordable products. So I'll link that below too. If you'd like to see them, you can click through and watch that. Let's knock out the rest of the lip products that are in here all at once. And it's like lipsticks. I'm kind of proud of myself actually for wearing these lipsticks. I've forgotten that I wore them. You know, I'm seeing them in here and I'm like, oh yeah, I did wear that one day. And it's good because I really love lip products, and I tend to feel like I struggle to wear my lip products as much as I want to. So I wore Velvet Dragon, the Lisa Eldridge lipstick. You know I did because it was in a video. It was in a new makeup releases video when I was wearing that red sweater that matched it. Fantastic. Also this, which is a Kjaer Weis product that they also sent me in PR, and I am fully in love with it. And actually it's not a dupe, but it's similar. It's shockingly similar. It's less matte and just a touch less orange than Velvet Dragon, but it's got a lot in common. The color is called Euphoria. The formula is great too. It's like really, really pigmented, and it's kind of stiff, so it doesn't slide all over the place. You can really control it, but it's very comfortable once it's on the lips. I really like it. They just came out with a shade range of reds. Like they sent me 4, and like a couple are a little bit more cool toned. I'll probably give those away. But there's this one, which I love it so much. And then there's a really bright one that I like as well. I will come back and review them with, I think I'm going to do like a whole Kjaer Weis video actually. So I'll swatch both of them on my lips in that video. I just wore this around the house, and I loved it. And then I also wore this Gucci lipstick, which I haven't actually talked about on my channel yet either. It's the Gucci Satin in the shade Lorna Doone. I got this to wear for getting married, and it was great because it's kind of like a vintagey neutral, almost a little bit edgy because it's got a little gray in it. Too thick of an application of this just all over my lips can look like a little bit much. I usually mix it with a little bit of lip liner, but it's hard for me to find pale, unusual, slightly grungy nudes. Like grungy nudes abound in the makeup world, and pale nudes also abound, but most of the palest nudes aren't grungy. I appreciate about Gucci that their lipstick range has so much variety on the very, very pale end. I think Gucci lipsticks are like my favorites, even though I only have 2. I only have this, and then I have the Lip Voile in Goldie Red. That's what I lust after. When I think about going to Sephora and like spending $150, I'm always thinking about going and buying like 3 or 4 Gucci lipsticks. It's like my favorite makeup on the market right now. And more lip stuff, actually more red lips. I've been like doing it. I've been doing the thing. So I can't give my full review of this yet, but I gave my first impressions in that video again, which will be linked down below. This is the Rouge Powder Lip Palette. I love it. And I didn't put it in the box until I'd worn all 4 colors. The thing that I'll say that surprised me is that this red, which looks so bright and neutral, when it's on the lips, it looks a little bit pink. It leans a little bit that sort of like fuchsia cool toned color, which isn't my absolute favorite on myself. I think this will probably be my least worn, but these darker shades are a little brighter than they look in the pans, and so they're more wearable for me than I was expecting them to be. So I think those 3 I'll continue to get a ton of use out of, and I probably won't get as much use. You can kind of see how it goes pink in that swatch. It didn't look bad. It's just I'm more likely to wear one of these like slightly rustier bright reds than I am to wear a color like this. But everything that I said about the formula in that video is still true even after I wore it, like more times after that, even like more so. There isn't all that much eyeshadow in here, partly because I haven't been wearing that much eyeshadow. I've been doing a lot of like strong lip, strong cheek, no eyes looks. And it's also because I've been reviewing a lot of eyeshadow, testing a lot. So I was testing the e.l.f. palette, testing the Gucci palette, testing the Glossier monochromes, and none of those went into the box because I was like retaining them in my testing area. But after I reviewed this palette from Lethal, I wore it a couple more times. And then I was like, I got to put this in the box and so that I can focus on the things that I'm supposed to be reviewing, because I really like working with these shadows. I really, really like them. This is the palette that I built. I think that my code with Lethal, my 20% off code, is still good. I think it's just good until the end of October. I will, of course, put the discount code in the description box below. I feel like Lethal is a really good resource if you want to collect a handful of mattes that are very high performing and that are in like a very specific color range for you. You know what I mean? Like if you love blues or something and you are like, I've always needed a periwinkle and a rich navy and a bright pool blue, and you've been wanting to like piece together a more robust collection of blues from palettes here and there, but you just can never quite find the right ones, you could like customize a very small palette or collection from Lethal and they're always going to perform perfectly. I feel like having used this, I've determined that that's the way that I would like lean on them as a company, because that's where they really deliver. Of course, the entire palette designer thing is really fun. I'll link the video down below so you can go watch it. It's really, really fun to do. This is another one that I'm like glad it's coming out of the box. This was also great for neutral looks because I included all of these sort of like slightly grungy but pale neutrals. There were a number of days where I just like threw one of those on the eyes and then just went. It wasn't all like popping blue crazy looks. This Moondust shadow from Urban Decay is in the box. Frankly, I don't even remember wearing this. This was probably one of the first things that I used when I started this experiment. And, you know, I use this a lot just to get my lids to look more wet. It's a very wet look shadow, but it has some grunge to it. It's not totally sheer. And I like that. I bet that I used this in combination with the Lethal palette to like finish, to top some looks and make them look wetter and shinier. I bet that that's why it ended up in the box. And then the last thing in here is the Charlotte Tilbury Hollywood Beauty Light Wand. This was my very favorite piece of makeup for a really long time, and it's getting quite old and it's almost used up. And I'm sure as I can be that the reason I reached for it on one of the first days of this project was just because I've been reaching for it a lot to try to use it up. I just, every time I see it, I'm like, I'm gonna use it because I'd like to completely pan it, you know? I like it because it's very wet looking on the cheeks, very shiny, but it dries down completely and doesn't stay tacky. That's always been the best thing about it. It also plays well with others, blends beautifully with any kind of cream or putty blush that I blend it with. And again, I'm glad that it's back in rotation so that I can continue to try to pan it. But for the sake of this project, I just went ahead and put it in the box so that I could tell you that I wore it, because I wanted to keep a record of the things that are old pieces of makeup for me that I reached for of my own accord, like who am I when I'm at home, kind of. And it was, you know, stuff like this and the YSL Lippy, the Glossier blush, the Lisa Eldridge lipstick, like those kinds of things. That's it. I'm feeling a little hoarse. This was a lot. I should have known. I kind of did know. But yeah, I'm ready to like take a break, have some water, and wind down. I feel like if I do this again, I was gonna ask you if you think that I should do this again, but I kind of know the answer. I kind of want to do it again, but I want to do it again with a twist. The twist being that I only put something in the box if it's like old makeup that is part of my permanent collection, because this was a mix of things I was testing, PR, newer stuff, things like that Becca gave me when I saw her, you know, everything. I was just like, I'm going to keep sort of like a slipshod record of the makeup that I've worn for the past couple weeks just by putting them in this box. But wouldn't it be cool if I only put stuff in the box that's like the tried and true stuff as a record of which ones of those pieces of makeup I'm wearing a lot. But anything that's brand new or that's still in the testing phase, I just keep it out and keep it in rotation. I feel like that would be more sustainable because I'd be able to collect makeup over a longer period of time because the box wouldn't get filled up as quickly because I am always, testing something or other. The video then wouldn't have as much brand new exciting makeup in it, but it would be like deep reflections on makeup that I have owned for a long time and that I really love. And it would be more of a reflection on like personal habits and personal desire for specific makeup items, less of like a reviewing new makeup thing and more of like a reflecting on old makeup. So that's what I think I'll do next with this idea. Let me know if you think that's a good idea or if you'd rather I just do what I did this time and like put everything in the box and then give you this kind of like mixed bag review. Whatever I end up doing next, I hope that you enjoyed this one. I enjoyed it. I thought that this was fun. I hope that you enjoyed it too. I thank you so much for being here and watching this video. And I especially hope that you remember to take extra good care of yourself this week so that you can be the most effective version of yourself as you do your work in the world.